Thank you for watching QTV with the news. My name is Diana Sumbwe. We take a look at our top stories. President Edgar Lungu says the decision to liquidate Konkola Copper Mines KCM is final. Caritas Zambia has attributed the increase in the number of suspicious transactions revealed in the latest financing trends report to failure to prosecute the culprits. And Finance Minister Margaret Mwanakatwe has not completely ruled out the deferment of the implementation of the sales tax. And our details in our news. President Edgar Lungu says the decision to liquidate Konkola Copper Mines KCM is final and there is no turning back. President Lungu says the liquidation process of KCM will proceed as it is the wish of the Zambian people, especially those that have worked in the mines. Zanis reports that the head of state says he has heard a lot of people suggesting that he backtracks on the decision, but he emphasized that the decision is final. He says those calling on him to rescind the decision are cowards, and that he is not a coward to go back on a decision that has already been made. President Lungu said this when he arrived at Simon Mwansa Kapwepwe Airport in Ndola. He states that once Vendetta is out, another investor to take over the operations of KCM will be ushered in. President Lungu says stakeholder groups will determine which investor takes over KCM once Vendetta goes. And Copperbelt Minister Japhet Mwakalombe says the people are in support of the decision President Lungu made over KCM, as it was not just for the people of the Copperbelt, but the nation at large. Mr. Mwakalombe says the decision to liquidate KCM has brought stability in the province. The head of state is on the Copperbelt province to grace the opening of the Copperbelt Agriculture, Mining, Industrial and Networking Exposition Caminex at the Qtv Showgrounds. Japanese leading manufacturer of construction and mining equipment Hitachi Construction Machinery has announced plans to expand its production in Zambia. Speaking when he led a delegation that paid a courtesy call on President Edgar Lungu at State House, Company Executive Officer Sonosuke Ishii says Hitachi Construction Machinery, which has been operating in Zambia since 2010, feels comfortable to stay in Zambia. Mr. Ishii, whose delegation included Hitachi Construction Machinery Vice President Koji Sumioka, has told President Lungu that the company has realized that Zambians are friendly and hardworking people. He states that the other key factor that has led to the company's intentions to expand its business in Zambia is the guaranteed safety of its Japanese expatriates that are in the country.
Also for our people, safety in Zambia is one of the key factor for our continuous operation. We understand that this is an excellent achievement of Your Excellency, Mr. President. So we are very, we feel very comfortable to stay in Zambia further. And Hitachi is intends to further extend our business, not only in Zambia, but based on our Zambian factory. We are planning to export our remanufactured components to other African countries. So your continuous support for our business will be highly appreciated. So thank you for your giving us a very good condition and environment for sustainable business.
And President Lungu is pleased that Hitachi has followed through what was agreed in Japan last December, that the company's investment be based on interactions with the Zambian people. He says he is particularly glad that the Japanese company has been meeting with the Ministry of Finance with a view of ensuring that its products are appreciated more in the country. He states that the Zambian government is proud of the association that it shares with Hitachi Construction Machinery. The head of state has, however, stated that he is aware of the fact that Hitachi Construction Machinery is one of the companies affected by issues of taxation. He has assured the Japanese company that measures are being put in place to ensure that the Zambian government meets its obligations to the company.
We are very, very proud of this association between ourselves and yourselves. I'm sure that the ongoing discussion on the sales tax, and it replaces the VAT, value addition tax, and you are part of the people who were caught in the crossfire. but I believe that measures have been put in place to ensure that our obligation to you are met. You in turn meet your obligations. So let me just thank you for coming through and assure you that we'll continue the same trajectory of getting you anchored in Zambia and being our partners in the growth of the economy, in mining, agriculture, and in these other related activities who are dependent on you.
Caritas Zambia has attributed the increase in the number of suspicious transactions revealed in the 2018 Financial Intelligence Center FIC report to the inability to prosecute those mentioned in the 2017 report. Executive Director Eugene Kabirika says Caritas is of the view that the suspicious financial transactions have increased because those involved in such dealings know that they will not be held accountable. Mr. Kabirika has told Q News that it is therefore incumbent upon the people of Zambia to put pressure on the Anti-Corruption Commission ACC to firmly act upon the FIC reports. He has warned that failure to do so will see Zambia remain undeveloped.
Maybe the Zambians would need to take the the bull by its own themselves by adding pressure. How will they add pressure? Speaking with one voice? Maybe. Collectively? Maybe. But people need to sit down and begin to take real action against corruption. Otherwise, we are not going to develop this country. We are going to be digging holes. We try to develop this way, but more money is going out because of corruption, illicit transactions. But the other thing that makes us sad is the involvement of law firms. It doesn't make a very good reading, because law firms are supposed to be the protector of human rights. And protecting human rights means that you are not going to condone corruption. You are not going to condone illicit transaction of funds, because you know that this is going to deprive people of the right to food, the right to water, clean water, and it is going to deprive people of the basic necessities that they need. Now, if you get involved in there and you are supposed to be the ones who are supposed to be protecting human rights, then people have nowhere to run to.
Finance Minister Margaret Monakatwe has not completely ruled out the deferment of the implementations of goods and sales tax. Mrs. Monakatwe has, however, stated that government will only consider the advice to defer the implementation of the goods and sales tax after it concludes its ongoing consultations. She says her ministry is still receiving submissions from the public across the country, upon which government will rely when coming up with a final position. Mrs. Monakatwe has told Q News that the goods and sales tax bill is currently undergoing the legislative process after going through first reading stage in Parliament. She states that her hope is therefore that her ministry will conclude the consultations in time for second reading of the bill. The implementations of sales tax has been set for 1st July 2019.
I'm busy doing my consultations right now, okay, right around the country. I think you're aware. I was in Livingston just the other day. I'll be in Northern Province, Muchinga. So we are doing our consultations and taking submissions from the public, okay, which are going to help us to come up with a final position. You know, my bill is in Parliament. It's gone through first reading. It's going to go to second reading, committee stage, and third reading. And I hope that by that time that process coming through, we've gathered all the information that we require. So we are sharing quite broadly. We've done Choma, we've done Livingston, we've done Lusaka, we've done Kabwe, we've done Ndola, Kitwe, Chingola, Solwezi. So we're going around the country and sharing and getting submissions. So what you're asking is exactly what's happening.
Action Aid Zambia has called for the comprehensive audit of all public projects and lifestyles of public officials. In a statement following the release of the latest financial trends report for 2018 by the Financial Intelligence Center, Action Aid is of the view that the audit of all the public projects will examine the true owners of the companies contracted, socio-economic benefits, scope of work, contract amounts, and experience of the companies. It says it is surprising that some civil servants, civil society leaders, religious leaders, and politicians without traceable business background and whose monthly earnings are modest have emerged as millionaires overnight. Action Aid says it is therefore important that civil servants and politicians are subjected to a lifestyle audit to deter theft of public resources. It has also recommended for the amendment of the FIC Act to empower the FIC to name suspects and undertake prosecution. It further notes the need to have in place fast-track courts to deal with financial crimes to eliminate any chances of perpetrators covering their crimes. Action Aid has also noted the need to have political parties declare their sources of funding following revelations in the FIC report that private companies awarded public contracts with funding some named political parties. The Center for Trade Policy and Development, CTPD, has noted the need for strong political will if Zambia is to address the growing problem of corruption, tax evasion, and fraud. CTPD Executive Director Isaac Mwaipopo says in the absence of strong political will, findings from the Financial Intelligence Center and the Auditor General's report will remain mere academic exercises gobbling taxpayers' money with no follow-up actions. Mr. Mwaipopo says CTPD remains deeply concerned with the growing trend of illicit financial flows and blatant suspected corruption in the public service, as revealed in the latest financial trends report by the Financial Intelligence Center. He notes that it is increasingly becoming clear that the levels of corruption in the country are going up instead of reducing. So are the cases of tax evasion and money laundering and other financial crimes. Mr. Mwaipopo states that what is even more disappointing is that in the two consecutive reports, it is the politically exposed persons, PEPs, that have been cited as the main culprits in these financial-related crimes using conducts such as law and audit firms. He says CTPD urges the Zambian government, through President Edgar Lungu with the support of all law enforcement agencies, not to take lightly the matters raised in the FIC report. Mr. Mwaipopo states that simple arithmetic suggests that between 2017 and 2018, the country has lost an estimated combined total of 10.6 billion kwacha.
The Center for Trade Policy and Development would like to call upon government to consider taking the recommendations that are coming through from the Financial Intelligence Center seriously. There is actually need for political will if we are to fight financial crimes in this country. We have noted over the years, from the time that the Financial Intelligence Center was established, that it has continued to give reports that are indicating that there is a lot that is happening involving issues around corruption, money laundering, as well as fraud. But on the other side, we've seen there's a lot of inertia coming through from the law enforcement agencies to move in and ensure that they follow up on some of those suspicious transactions that have been reported. We say so because we've continued to see a rise in terms of the number of cases that are being reported.
Transparency International Zambia is concerned that huge sums of money are being lost or mismanaged as reflected in the various audit reports over the years. In a speech read on his behalf by Programs Manager Martin Matabishi during the opening of the Enhanced Transparency and Accountability in Public Resource Management Project, TIZ Executive Director Wesley Chibamba says the reports show a gloomy and saddening picture, considering that Zambia's poverty levels are still very high and the economy faces many hardships. He says that the lost resources, as highlighted in the audit reports, indicated that there is a great opportunity cost to develop Zambia and massively reduce the levels of poverty if these resources are not personalized and mismanaged. Mr. Chibamba says what is more worrying is that despite audits reflecting various cases of mismanagement of resources, there has been no tangible follow-ups and prosecution of the cases in the audit reports. The TIZ Executive Director says civil society organizations have a role to play by mobilizing citizens to take keen interest and demand for accountability in the way public resources are managed. Patriots for Economic Progress PEP President Sean Tembo has charged that the level of corruption in Zambia gives the opposition confidence of winning the 2021 general election than ever before. Mr. Tembo says his party is strongly convinced that the ruling Patriotic Front will be defeated come 2021. In an interview with Qtv News, Mr. Tembo says victory is certain for the opposition in the August 2021 general election. Mr. Tembo states that not even rigging will help the ruling Patriotic Front to win the next general election.
Well, from where we stand as Patriots for Economic Progress, there is no question in our minds that come 2021, there's going to be a new government. The opposition alliance is going to win with a landslide because the Zambian people are sick and tired of the high levels of corruption in the current Patriotic Front government. If you look at the strongholds which the PF had in 2016, they were predominantly urban strongholds in the Copperbelt and Lusaka. And these are the same people who are undergoing a lot of hardships due to this economic economic mismanagement by the Patriotic Front. So there is no way in heaven that these people would decide to again vote for the Patriotic Front in 2021. And even if the PF might have a plan to rig the elections, you can only rig the elections up to a certain extent. If you have a landslide facing you, there is no medicine to such an electoral victory. They will have no option but to basically...
Currently, the organization has embarked on a project which we fondly call ITA, in full enhanced transparency and accountability in public resource management, whose aim is to increase accountability in the management of public resources and the huge sums of resources lost.
Meanwhile, All People's Congress Party President Nason Msoni says that those cited in the latest financial trends report by the Financial Intelligence Center should vacate their positions to give investigative wings a free hand to carry out their investigations. Mr. Msoni says it is absolutely wrong for anyone to argue on the basis that the culprit have not been named in the report, when the truth is that huge amounts of money have been openly stolen from the Zambian public. He further states that the report has clearly given a hint why the government has run into bankruptcy. Mr. Msoni says this situation is unprecedented in the history of government. He states that a sense of shame for any self-respecting leadership is not a bad moral compass in this circumstance.
We are certainly heading towards a disastrous shipwreck at this rate. At this rate. The report has further clearly given a hint why this government has run into bankruptcy. It is now incumbent upon Mr. Lungu himself to justify to citizens why Zambians should continue to keep him in office when he's running the most corrupt ever government. This is quite unprecedented by all means. This is quite unprecedented by all means in the history of governments the world over, that this type of conduct of any leader running such a government, a corrupt government, is shameful by all means, by all standards.
The Zambia Information and Communications Technology Authority ZICTA has directed all mobile network operators to conduct a fresh SIM registration exercise meant to reinforce security in the ICT sector. This is also in line with the implementation deadline for SIM registration directive under the ICT's Registration of Electronic Communication Apparatus, Statutory Instrument number 65 of 2011. ZICTA Acting Manager Corporate Communications Edward Mulenga says to this effect a meeting was held with the mobile network operators on May 21, 2019 to further expand the directives with regards to measures aimed at sanitizing the mobile subscriber information registration. Mr. Mulenga says that during this new SIM card registration and SIM card replacement effective August 31st, mobile network operators are to capture live facial photographs. He adds that all mobile network operators are to start biometric capture registration by January 1st, 2020, and the mobile network operators shall comply with the biometric standards as to be soon prescribed by the authority. Mr. Mulenga says mobile network operators are also required to submit weekly reports of all SIM replacements to the authority, saying this measure will assist the authority in proactively monitoring SIM replacement processes in order to address high incidences of fraudulent activities related to SIM replacements. He says that when opening mobile money accounts, mobile network operators have been directed to use live facial photographs of subscribers, an updated identity card, as well as the physical address of the subscribers. Mr. Mlenga says the authority will monitor progress on the implementation of the directives and that failure to adhere to the timelines will attract punitive measures within the law. Former Finance Minister Katele Kalumba has challenged those blaming the former ruling party MMD for the current mess in the mining industry to base their opinions on facts. In an interview with Q News, Dr. Kalumba, who served as cabinet minister in both the Chiluba and Monawasa administrations, has wondered what it is the MMD did to cause the current mess in the mining sector. Dr. Kalumba says he does not know of any injury that has been caused to the mining sector arising from the Anglo-American deal related to the sale of KCM. He says the development agreements pertaining to this deal were only abrogated by the government that came in after he had served as finance minister.
They have a right to express their opinion, but I can only say they should try and base their opinions on fact. So what is it in the regime that causes that an injury that they're talking about? Because I can speak for the part I know best, the Anglo-American deal, which had a component of investing in Concola Deep, and it had also a component of establishing Ghana Smelter, which is now established in Changa Smelter, but there was money there from the British government supporting us to re-establish Ghana Smelter to the tune of about $78 million, which people don't, $78 million, which people don't even add to the total value of the sale. The development agreements were abrogated with Anglo by the government that came in, and I have no knowledge of the vendetta agreements.
The Teaching Service Commission says that names of the selected teachers to be seconded to the Republic of Seychelles will be published on Friday, 7th June 2019. Speaking during the launch of the Balanced Scorecard and website for the Teaching Service Commission in Lusaka, Commission Chairperson Stanley Muhango says following the internal advert, the Commission received 77 applications which covered all the 10 provinces in Zambia. Mr. Muhango says interviews were held from 27th to 31st May 2019 by a selection board involving representatives of teacher unions, Teaching Council of Zambia, Ministry of General Education, and Teaching Service Commission. He says the names of the successful teachers will be posted on the Teaching Service Commission website, which has just been launched. And Mr. Muhango says the launched scorecard outlines board principles of basic values and behavioral standards that call for a high level of performance standards by staff at the Commission. He says the scorecard is intended to enhance efficient service delivery in the teaching service.
The Commission is working on regulations aimed at decentralizing its functions by delegation to district and provincial levels. I know I did not get permission from you, guest of honor, but there is one aspect that the unions and the teachers in general, especially for those in the primary subsector, which they have been yearning to hear from us, which caused a lot of pain and anxiety from them, and that was actually transferring them from the teaching service to the local authorities. I want to inform my colleagues who are here that government is seriously reconsidering that, because all teachers belong to the Teaching Service Commission. I hope I won't be disputed. Guests of honor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Commission is delighted to launch the long-awaited Balanced Scorecard.
Musika Managing Director Ruben Banda has encouraged farmers to diversify their farming activities to avoid the negative impact of climate change. Mr. Banda says farmers should consider growing other crops other than maize and reduce dependency on rain-fed crops. He says this is why Musika is working with the private sector to see how they can promote irrigation farming and move away from rain-fed agriculture. Mr. Banda states that farmers should also consider growing crops such as cassava, millet and sorghum, which can easily survive even in drought conditions.
One of our strategy, one of our key focus area as Musika is agriculture diversification. To me, agriculture diversification answers most of these issues that we are grappling with. One under agriculture diversification, and there the second one is what we call agriculture technologies. Under agriculture technologies, we are looking at issues like irrigation. So we are promoting, working with the private sector to see how we can promote irrigation so that the farmers can move away from dependent on land fed, but also looking at they can still grow even when they don't have enough land through under irrigation. Then secondly, under agriculture diversification we are supporting the commercialization of cassava out there, and we are also looking at other things that the farmers can involved in, things like fruit trees that which they can grow, and also looking at the issues of diversifying. They are not only growing maize but growing.
To end the news, we take a look at stories making headlines. President Edgar Lungu says the decision to liquidate Konkola Copper Mines KCM is final. Caritas Zambia has attributed the increase in the number of suspicious transactions revealed in the latest financing trends report to failure to prosecute the culprits. And Finance Minister Margaret Manakatwe has not completely ruled out the deferment of the implementations of sales tax. On that note, we come to the end of the news. Thank you for watching.